And the same thing also when it comes to therapy, support groups. Don't go in with that one and done mentality. I had to treat therapy. I'm married, so I don't put poor analogy or whatever, but like dating. Like I had to go and meet a couple different therapists before I found the one that, worked for me. So
oh wow, I never thought about that.
yeah. It's I feel like that what you said, first and foremost with the church, as a believer, most definitely, which is something I didn't understand early on in my walk. But also when it just comes to getting your treatment, sometimes you'll go to a place and you think you're supposed to get, and you might not hit it off. They may not be that receptive ear or type of support. Still go to the next place, try it out, try 3 or 4 different places.
Don't say therapy doesn't work.
Yeah, don't just off the rip.
Out the window.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of the times we'll find ourselves, or we can find ourselves talking to our peers the same way we would talk to you should talk to a licensed or a professional, or not even necessarily someone who's got some degree, but someone like yourself who has this experience. It's better for someone to talk to you about that than to just some random person that's not going to know what to say.
Conversations, yeah. You ain't ready for these conversations, yeah. Have some faith when we conversating. Whoa, connecting when we conversating. Holy conversations, yeah. I'm having conversations. I'm having conversations. I'm having conversations of faith.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Conversations of Faith with friends and family. We're so glad that you're here. We got a great topic today. You see our guests are back, Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Willers. You gotta say hello.
Hey.
We got you. We're live on their stuff
man.
too, man.
What's
going
on,
everybody?
Yes.
We're Mr. Worldwide over here. Man, let's jump right into this. This is a topic that everybody here knows is very important, and we got the right man for the job and the right woman for the job, Miss Willers. I don't want to count you out, but we wanted to talk about mental health because last time that Chris, you were here, we talked about your testimony, being incarcerated for 17 years and just your journey to freedom, finding faith, things like that. But one thing we really didn't talk about is, well, we touched on it. We talked about being free, but then still having the parole, the things like that.
Man.
But what we really didn't get into is just the mental side of it, because again, while you're walking free, there's still some things that you're having to deal with. So let's kick it off. Let's talk about the mental health problem. You see it right there.
Yeah, man. Great title. Glad to be back. Always glad to be here on Conversations of Faith. And yeah, let's get into it because it's funny. Yesterday, I just posted a video, the video of me walking out of prison.
Oh, wow.
For the first time in 17 years. And I literally in captions, I put, this is the definition of PTSD.
Oh, wow.
And I was a totally different human being. My wife, who I was already married to, and everybody else, I came home with support. We're celebrating. You can hear them shouting, they're hugging, crying. And I look numb. And, fast forward now, I'm a certified peer specialist in mental health and a forensic peer for the state of Georgia. I work in the field hands-on, on my way to a mental health event after this. So yeah, I love this topic and I want to get into it for sure.
Yeah, I was talking, I sent the guys a message, and I even let you know that the other day I was going through my Facebook memories, and I saw that a friend of mine from when I was in the Navy had shared, you go back and you see the different things people write on your walls, and I saw this guy. I was like, oh man, I hadn't seen, Jim in a while, and Jim really didn't use Facebook at all, so it wasn't uncommon to see, to not see him have an online presence. He's just kind of those rare posters. So I went to see what he was up to, and I saw that he had he had passed away, man, that he had apparently taken his own life. And I just saw comments and I was just like, what? And the first thing I thought was another one, man. Like, just it's I was telling my wife, Evan, that it's crazy when you can look at your life and just see how many people have. Every death is tragic, but what I'm talking about is the circumstances. These people who feel like there's just, it's not worth it anymore, and the only option, this is better than trying to fight through it. And we were talking also about how her grandparents at a certain, once the grandparents get to a certain age, everybody starts passing away. But it's, that's it's different. But when you can look back and go, holy smokes, like, it's so many people that just lose that battle.
Well, do you know what the number is daily?
No.
For just men?
No.
Yeah, so last month was Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's about 2,000 men a day.
Holy smokes.
We're off the Richter, we're off the board. The numbers are increasing, and 2,000 men a day on average are deciding they don't want to be here anymore. I lost my younger brother, one of the many. Almost lost myself, in 2021. It's very real. It's a topic a lot of people don't want to discuss, but at the same time, it's something that's taken us out. Because there's levels to this thing. When we talk about mental health is one thing, mental illness is another. But let me tell you, there's a difference between anxiety and suicidal ideation and all these different things. So that's why I'm always excited to have these conversations, because oftentimes for the line of work that I'm in, it's after something's occurred.
Right.
But if I got the opportunity to have a conversation beforehand, hopefully this gets to somebody that may be on the ledge, and we've done even, better at our job.
Let me ask you, what year did you get out?
I got out in 2020, January 13th, after 16 years, 11 months of incarceration. From 19 years old, I came out a 36-year-old man, and 2 months later, the pandemic hit.
It's interesting, and the reason I ask is because, if you think about it, it would seem more logical that you would try and make that kind of decision while you're in what seems to be a pit of despair. You're locked up. What was it that when you get out, which after 16 years, 11 months, you're finally out, but then that's when you start having this thought that it's not worth it anymore?
Well, I'm formerly incarcerated. I'm also a veteran, United States military, United States Air Force active duty during 9/11. And it's something that kind of mirrors both populations. It's after we're out of the war that we start to feel the impact. Growing up playing football, 2-a-days, it may not be till 3-4 days later you start to feel those hits. And that's what's going on with a lot of people that are coming home from incarceration. A lot of our veterans, they're off the battlefield, they're out of the prisons, and then there's no support. In terms of prison, one of America's, dirty secrets is that prisons actually don't rehabilitate. There's no mental health support behind those walls. And people are coming home from harsh environments where they're witnessing trauma, experiencing trauma, and then they're expected to just be successful in community.
Right.
And just, go grocery shopping and get gas. And it doesn't work like that.
Well, you had mentioned support, and you guys were married while you were still incarcerated. So
I apologize. Every time I get a chance, I apologize out loud.
So it's 2021. Did you have an idea, April, that this was something that was going on? Were you open about these things? Can we hear from you about?
So, I remember Chris telling me, when we were kind of have a disagreement, that this is what you signed up for. But I really didn't know what I signed up for. I had no idea the amount of mental health that he was really going to be in need of. And I wasn't really aware of the struggles that he would face when he got out. It just wasn't the reality. It doesn't really hit you until it happened. So the the trauma with him, being inside, me not being mentally equipped for it, us having to seek outside help, therapy, support groups. It was a trial and error, and then add the pandemic on top of that.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 2021. We still have to get through 2020.
Yeah,
And the
wow.
world is shutting down. My husband, I remember he had just gotten a full-time job with benefits. He was so excited. He was finally developing a routine. And then in March, as soon as he got this great job, he got out in January. He had been in several jobs, but this one was going to set us up. And I remember he got laid off 1 week later, like literally 1 week later.
Yeah.
So after working so hard to get this position, knowing it was a permanent position, that was a total mind shift. Then they're talking about essential jobs.
Right.
We don't even know what essential jobs mean. So that whole thing with the pandemic adding to my anxiety, I had never had anxiety before the pandemic. So it shifted my mindset. Him coming home, having to learn new things all over again. It was new every day, and we would struggle with something new every day. It just seemed like, but with mental health support, with therapy, and thank God I was off of work, so I could do these things like go to therapy and set up therapy for him. Thank God I had insurance in place for him before he came home, so he could do the same things. But we did not expect that type of impact with him coming home and the pandemic. It was just like a double whammy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys have any questions that you want to ask them? I don't want to sit here and take the whole time, but any questions about this? Because that's, going through it on your own is one thing, but again, trying to be and you work so hard. You work so hard to make it through that sentence. Then you come back. One thing I had texted you about was the phrase imposter syndrome, where I've heard that phrase more for people who have success and they think it's just luck or something like that. But I started thinking about it as it pertains to somebody who's now back into society and the judgment that comes with that. I know that's for some people it can be, something that they try and push down and hide, and they don't ever want that to come out. But it's not, obviously that's not what you've done.
Yeah, but it was brutal. And it's something. I'm going to Detroit in 2 weeks to do a conference with Jay Moss. He's won Grammys. Everybody else that's on the flyers, a pastor and a doctor.
Oh wow.
And then it's me. Right. So, and I just say that to this day, I think there's a part of me, because I was really immersed in prison. I was there for 17 years. And for all intents and purposes, when you hear the stories, I began to get really good at prison. And in order to do that, you had to really take on the lifestyle and the culture. So fast forward, since I've been home, we've opened a school. I got honored for Principal of the Year.
Proclamation.
I've gotten a proclamation. To this day, though, there's always a part of me that remembers when the judge labeled me a menace to society. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that didn't cue up sometimes. There's plenty of moments where no matter how much I succeed, I still think about what's lingering over my head. I got 50 years good behavior. I get one false move. There's certain things I think that I'm going to endure mentally no matter what. Imposter syndrome, if it's not that, I definitely have moments. Social media. There's no way a guy that did 3.5 years in solitary confinement or over 3 years should be able to reach 100 million every month. Nah, not in this world. So it is a me versus me. It's not as glamorous as some people or sunny as some people think, because it is a fight at times to get into these new spaces, and you got to tell yourself you're qualified.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I think that's the enemy, because you can be the biggest pastor or doctor, but someone who's lived it, someone who's been through the weeds and come out,
right?
There's nothing like that testimony.
Yeah, And I'm always told that, and I'm always grateful. I got to remember that. Like, lived experience beats out a doctorate
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I serve as in the recovery field. As a certified peer specialist, we lend support through lived experience, through that lens. We work with, you know, psychiatrists and therapists, but we're this position that's become even more and more important. And then when you speak about the enemy, oh yeah, it's definitely the enemy. The enemy is, he's mad right now, but that means you're doing good, right? You're under attack. And a good mentor of mine, Pastor Freddie Williams, he reminds me. He said, if he's up early with you, that means you're on time.
Right.
That's good.
So yeah.
So tell me, what are your credentials again? You mentioned them earlier, but if you could tell us what those are, what that means, how you're using that right now to help people.
Yeah, I love speaking about this position because it's super valuable, right? And what it is, and I should say it's available. This position is an actual medical field position. You can bill through Medicaid. It hasn't been impacted by any of the cuts that have been going on.
Wow.
And the way you qualify for this position is you have to be at least 18. You have to have at least had some form of documented mental illness, and you have to have lived experience. And that's how you get what's called a certified peer specialist in mental health certification for the state of Georgia. And for anybody that's watching, the certification takes about a week. That's it, and then you're able to work and help people based off what you've been through, and you get to provide for your family. So through that certification, I work with typically young adults that have certain mental disabilities, etc., which is ironic because I found myself in a totally different field that I thought I would have been in when it came to mental health.
Really?
Yeah. But at the opposite end, I do have my forensic peer certification, which is another certification you can get if you're 18, you've been incarcerated, and you have lived experience. That's it. And that allows you to actually go into the prisons, the jails, etc. I recently turned down an opportunity to go work in a prison. It was just too far of a commute, but the opportunity was there, and it can be for you if you're watching this and you've got similar experiences to me as well. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome, Christy.
No, I was just gonna say there's so much bravery in that because some people want to run from the things they've been through.
Yeah.
But seeing you go back and bless the people who are where you were to get them where you are is huge, and they have to be very grateful for that.
Yeah, we're firefighters. Whenever I speak to my fellow CPSs, I made that my unique message at my first cohort. I said we're firefighters. We run back into the fire and we show people how to get out. Yeah.
Is this something that you guys do together? These endeavors, like the
she does everything with me. She supports me.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I support, but I'm not a certified CPS yet. I am going up for that. But I do work with him hand in hand in recovery. So I'm very vocal about my own personal recovery. Fast forward now, we're having a healthy baby soon. So, these are one of the things that's a part of my journey too. Part of my mental health, a part of my own personal recovery. And just getting out of situations that were traumatizing, from childhood all the way up into this point that I'm at now. And I enjoy it.
She literally does everything behind the scenes. She makes me look awesome and amazing. She pushes our nonprofit. She helps facilitate our recovery group on Saturdays. She takes trips with me to meet with people that are on a lot of times their first step, maybe 2 or 3 days off of some serious hard substances. She provides support if there's couples that need support, especially for the ladies. Obviously, you want to be respectful, and I get the guys and she works with me and everything. And I'm glad, that we are able to, because we had to fight to be able to get to this place where we could work together.
We're mentally stable enough to handle the assignment.
That's true. Yeah.
And we're still seeking ongoing therapy.
Yeah.
That's a part of our daily regimen. One thing that I did want to say is, to Christy's point, a lot of times the enemy does come in, and Chris goes back into these dry places. you know, and I have to I feel like sometimes just bring him back. How are you feeling? Are you okay?
Yeah,
You
it
know,
gets
because I can
intense
see
sometimes.
him on video and I see who I married when he was in prison
Right.
versus who he is now. And, you know, it's very important. And me too, you know, when I go back to a state of mind where he can see me kind of drifting into a dry place, he's going, hey, you need to make an appointment. So mental health is a part of our everyday life. It's
Yeah.
not just it's not a stigma anymore.
Right.
We've all been through it. I feel like with just COVID enough, you know, I feel like shifted everybody's mindset
Oh my gosh.
and mental state. So yeah, ongoing. We'll be doing this for the rest of our lives.
But the fact that you guys have each other to have those check-ins.
Yes.
You know, some people don't have that, so that you're aware when he's slipping or he's aware when you're slipping is a huge blessing in itself, for sure.
Huge deal.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I was wondering about when you're helping people, have you witnessed any people or individuals? Sometimes people, it sounds weird to say, they just like being, not like, but it's like they don't have any interest in trying to get out from under that cloud. And if so, how does that impact your, not ability, but just your approach to helping someone like that? Because I know sometimes people are just like, man, do you just like being miserable? It's like when Jesus asked the man, he's like, do you want to be healed?
Right.
Yeah.
That part.
I love this question. There's two types of ministry. That which is done when you just sit in the church and you chill and you wait for everybody to walk in the building. They want to be there. And there's other type of ministry when you go to the people. And you know, you try to encourage them. And that's what I do. And now people reach out with the tougher cases. Typically people, when they have that mindset, it's not always them making that choice. It could be mental illness.
Yeah, that's
outright.
right. Yeah.
Because of the severity of it. You know, some people are, you know, schizophrenic and other things. And it's hard to make decisions that make sense in certain states. And then for a large percentage of people that are in unhealthy situations or whatnot, they're usually stuck in one of the 5 stages of fear, you know. And part of the CPS's position, part of our training is to establish a pathway out of those stages and to encourage them. And sometimes that means working with a peer, because we don't call them clients. They're peers. They're our peers.
Right.
Sometimes that means working with them while they don't want to do anything at all for months on end, but somebody has to be patient enough, you know. And unfortunately, I don't feel like a lot of people are. But it's okay though. I think at the same time with the creation of the CPS positions, us now being involved in the process of treatment, where it's not just the medical scope, just give medication, but somebody that can advocate for the individual as well. Situation will get.
I've got 2 things unless anybody else does. First, let me talk about the parallel. I want to ask you about the 5 stages of fear. Remember that. But I also want to say that I was thinking of the parallel of like a believer, somebody, you talk about the patience required to minister to these people. And I feel like the same thing is experienced in faith. People who have been delivered from a lot, who have had a past that just felt like it could not be forgiven. Those people tend to be more gracious and more faithful to the calling, you know, whereas some people who maybe just had, praise God, a good life, and then they see someone going through hard times, they just don't understand that. And it's not that it's their own experience that's molded their mindset to that. Well, that person just needs to put that down and do this. But people who have been through it, it's like, no, you got to understand. Right. That's
experience shifts things.
Yeah, for sure. But you had mentioned the stages of fear. I've never heard that before. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
The 5 stages of fear is just essentially there's different types of fear, right? And I'll just kind of speak on 3 of them. There's a healthy type of fear, which would be maybe I don't walk down this dark alley at 12:31 at, you know, in midnight, past midnight, whatever. That's a healthy fear. Then you have a level of fear where your anxiety has you just always second guessing that next move to a place of almost complacency or stagnation where you might be doing something, you might be having a conversation, but you're not actually committing the action to change your situation. And then you've got the most severe where, and you can, maybe you've seen it, hopefully you haven't, but some people that don't even want to leave their homes.
Right.
You know, they don't have the courage to go to the grocery store, you know, to get toiletries or whatever. And then there's things in between or whatnot. But I feel like we all have those fears. It's when they go unchecked. Many of us were able to come up in environments where we could have conversations about the things that, you know, but a lot of us weren't. A lot of us were chastised when we said we were scared. A lot of us were beat. A lot of us went through certain traumas when we were younger that now create obstacles, and the traumas may have manifested in mental illness, and it goes on. And I can be here for 5 hours because it's deep. But fear is what the enemy wants. So mental health, replace that word, ministry. All in all, we're just trying to bring love and replace that fear. We're trying to show them everything that I do when I work with peers. I have somebody I work with, and they looked at me one time. They're like, "Man, I can't do this. I'm crazy." I said, "I'm crazy too." I said, "We're gonna have to figure this out." And he did it about 5 minutes later, you know, because he just needed to feel. They needed to feel that connection, you know, and that's all it's about, man. If anybody out there, to that note, is in a place of fear, I just want to encourage you to go out there, build a support system, advocate for yourself. If you don't know where to start, hopefully I got a support group every Saturday online. Get on there from your phone. You ain't even got to put the camera on. We just want you in the room. But yeah, we'll share that information. Yeah.
That's awesome. What else? Keep it going. This is good. You want to talk about the life unit again, because you sent me an invitation to that, and I love people getting on there and seeing and supporting each other, and feeling comfortable, you know, that there are other people out there, because I think a lot of the time we can get in a place where it's like nobody else is going through what I'm doing. Me personally, this is kind of a side note. When I went into the Navy and I got into boot camp, at the time I thought I was the only person who had my story, right?
Yeah.
Girls expecting to have my child. We're not married. I'm a loser and I've got to do something. And then I get to boot camp and I meet 10 other guys with the
same situation.
I'm like, wow, it really kind of puts it into perspective that, you know, it's nothing, there's nothing new under the sun, right? You ain't no different, but there are. And I think that's the important thing too. One of the important things was recognizing that it's not just you. It's not just you that's going through it, and somebody else has gone through worse and is willing to help pick everybody else up.
Literally.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I think we've gotten to the place where people aren't scared to talk about mental health anymore.
Yes, finally.
Yeah, finally.
Took forever.
But what do you think about people who just don't know where to go? Like, suggestions you would have for people of ways to plug in to these systems that you're talking about?
I put my information. Can I?
Absolutely. Please.
If you don't know where to go when it comes to mental health support, you can text this number right here and I'll respond. It's 747-724-1757. I put that number out on social media every single day. But all in all, if you don't want to go that route, get online first. You know, if you're seeing this, more than likely you have access to the internet. Go in your Google search bar and just put in words like NAMI or SAMHSA. Or if you just want to put NA, AA. If you're somebody that's not struggling with recovery, I still want to encourage you to go into these rooms, because here's the spoiler alert. The people in those rooms have been through the worst of the worst, and they're not looking for perfection. Sometimes it can be daunting. I'm a believer. Guess what? I love the Lord. I love going to church. But sometimes back in the day when I was drinking till 5 a.m, I didn't feel like going to church at 8 a.m. I felt like I was going to get judged or whatever it was. But when you go into these spaces or spaces where there's no expectation, and just go sit, and also there's a multitude of things, like I mentioned, online where you don't even have to put your camera on. I facilitate a group through Believe Detox Center for recovery, reentry. We do things for family members. Other cheat codes is getting on Eventbrite. There's always like free community events and things of this nature. And even though I said it's not always easy to go to the church, if you're a person of faith, go there too. Find a place, go sit. You don't have to. And if they say something to you, go to the other church. It'll be okay. Go across the street. But yeah, there is help. But you have to advocate for yourself, at least in the form of putting something in the search bar. If you don't have enough willpower in the moment to actually venture out into the world.
Yeah, and something I just thought of is if you are, if you go to a church and something like that happens, don't throw church out just because of that, because those are people, and none of us are perfect. We're not going to get it perfect. We're going to make mistakes, and I just feel like that happens too often, where you just bump into the wrong person. We talked about earlier somebody who hasn't been through what you're going through. I think we may have talked about it on here before, where a pastor dressed up like a homeless person in his own church to see how his congregation would receive him. So don't, again, just, I guess my main point is, don't let an interaction with a person interfere with your interaction with the Lord, with the Holy Spirit, because that's where the change comes. And you'll find it. The Word says, if you seek me with your whole heart, you will find me. So,
and if the presence of the Lord is there, they're not going to send you away. Plenty of churches had, well, I want to sound like the drunk guy that showed up at church all the time, but I've had more churches tell me to sit and chill and just, clear your mind, as opposed to the one or two that said you can't, And the same thing also when it comes to therapy, support groups. Don't go in with that one and done mentality. I had to treat therapy. I'm married, so I don't put poor analogy or whatever, but like dating, I had to go and meet a couple different therapists before I found the one that, worked for me. So,
oh wow, I never thought about that.
I feel like that, what you said, first and foremost with the church, as a believer, most definitely, which is something I didn't understand early on in my walk. But also when it just comes to getting your treatment, sometimes you'll go to a place and you think you're supposed to get, and you might not hit it off. They may not be that receptive ear or type of support. Still, go to the next place, try it out, try 3 or 4 different places.
Don't say therapy doesn't work.
Yeah, don't just
throw
off the rip
out the window.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of the times we'll find ourselves, or we can find ourselves talking to our peers the same way we would talk to you should talk to a licensed or a professional, or not even necessarily someone who's got some degree, but someone like yourself who has this experience. It's better for someone to talk to you about that than to just some random person that's not going to know what to say. You're just word vomiting, and they're like, oh.
And sometimes, like, even family and friends aren't the ones you need to talk, because, and it's not that they're not there to support you. Everybody doesn't know necessarily how,
and so everyone isn't equipped.
Everyone isn't equipped.
And it's good to have a third party person that you can be completely vulnerable with without having to worry about it going home to somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
For my job, I work in benefits, so we advocate for different things throughout people's entire health, and mental health is very important to us as well. And we have a provider where you can put in exactly what you're looking for. If you want a female, or you want someone who's the same religion or the same race or whatever you want, because you have to find the person that's comfortable. You can go to 5 different ones before you find the person that's going to make sense for you.
Right.
But I think that's very important to also, talk to the people that you work with to see if you have something available, through your insurance, or a lot of companies do it even free, to use your resources. Like you said, there's resources available to you in multiple different avenues, and that's a good one. I did have a question for you of how you feel when people not make fun of, but like joke about mental health. I mean, we've all heard people say, just things that they don't think are a big deal.
Yeah. I'm a fierce advocate. I have a reputation in the community as being very outspoken and being a disruptor. And I don't like bullies. So a lot of times, unfortunately, when you hear negative remarks about mental illness, it's somebody that's just being negative and nitpicking and being, whatever it is, the motive isn't right. So anytime I have the opportunity to challenge those things, always with fact. And I would just say to anybody that doesn't understand mental illness, you're probably not qualified to speak on it. You know, I can't tell anybody about growing up in Tokyo because I'm from Chicago.
Right.
So that's my message. You can think what you think and feel what you feel, but if you never gone through the fire, then you wouldn't understand. And I would say as somebody that early on, because I was the first one out our circle that out loud said something's wrong with me. I was also the first one that was challenged by my circle. Nobody wanted to hear that. Nothing's wrong with you. You good.
And I wanted to speak to that too, because a lot of times we're surrounded by people that don't even have a diagnosis. In our case, Chris didn't have a diagnosis when I met him. Yeah. I did not know. So I'm one of those people who are kind of ignorant to the fact that he may be actually having mental health challenges. I always looked at him was like he was super smart, super gifted. We found out later he's on the spectrum. Did not know that either. So this, adds to whatever diagnosis he had on top of that. I wasn't qualified to know what he could be capable of or not capable of, So, yeah. And then again, after COVID, I'm always going to be an advocate. Everybody kind of needs to get checked and make sure they are okay mentally. I can't say that enough because we don't know, because we haven't been taught, haven't been diagnosed, and we haven't been brave enough to even challenge ourselves. Or the people around us have not been brave enough to challenge us. So you have to know exactly what's going on with you, and you have to be brave enough, courageous enough to look into it and say, "Hey, I might have an issue. Let me go see what's wrong with me."
Yeah. I think that a lot of if you look back at the previous generations of parents and things like that, there you go from the rub some dirt on it, walk it off generation to it's or balance. Go ahead.
Or if you're just a high performer, maybe you're in leadership and nobody expects you to have a chink in your armor.
Yeah.
It's not always, it's different perspectives, but I think when it's not expected of the individual, that's when it gets challenged, and it doesn't always get challenged in the right way. Yeah.
And I feel like definitely as men, right?
Oh, goodness.
I think that's a big stigma.
So many stigmas.
We're supposed to you're supposed to hide all your feelings, and it's not okay for men to be emotional.
Yeah.
And we have to come out of that as well. I mean,
culturally, I don't know how everybody else brought up. I was brought up, my father, 4 uncles, Mexican American. I mean, I got black side too, but I was around that side of the family. What? You better get up. You better.
Right.
We go to work every day. We don't cry. We don't. But yeah, there's so much pressure when it comes to men, which is why the number's around 2,000 on average. The stigma, the pressure of going to my wife and saying, I can't, I don't got it. That alone, but it's on, and it's something to the men out there, it's okay. And not for nothing, some would say you're stronger for stepping up and being a voice. And anybody that don't support you in the midst of your madness, well, guess what? Good indicator they may not need to be around. And that's okay too. Because you got to get you right, man, so you don't become a part of that 2,000.
Yeah.
I was just gonna add to the picture you see over there. That's my sister. She died when I was 17. She drowned, and I was there, but I wasn't exactly where she drowned. But I was in the for years I suffer with the guilt that it was my fault, and I couldn't tell anybody.
Right.
I was afraid to tell anybody how I felt, and for years, I'm talking about 10 years, I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I felt that it was my fault. And to be honest, I don't know how I lost it, but for years I struggled with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us process different ways. Some of it's just over time, but grief is one of the things that takes us out too. We don't cry out loud. We don't hold our heads down, you know. And a lot of times when there's loss in our families as men, we got to step up and we got to keep going. We don't get any days off. We went through tragedies, and I remember having a resentment in my mind towards her because she didn't have to go to work. I had to go to work, but I was destroyed inside. And it just that's where I was at mentally, you know, and that's the thing to the men. When we don't check it, it starts to fester and it'll come out. And to any of the spouses or anybody, you know, who are moms, anybody that's out there, if you want to know the number one way you can see if a guy is depressed, in a state of where he needs support when it comes to his mental health, he's usually always angry and agitated. And if he's not those two things, he's not talking. Those three things, any of those you see him, those are red flags right there. Needs help.
Yeah, I know I have the kind of personality that when I do get quiet, people, are you okay? I'm a jokester. When you said Mexican American, I wanted to start singing that song from Cheech and Chong, Mexican American. Hey, but I was like, I don't want to derail this thing too much.
We know you're not depressed.
Yeah,
Mexican American.
But it's good you got people around you.
Yeah,
so everybody doesn't have people around them that knows them enough when they get too quiet. I got people too. You know, they call me. My brothers are crazy. They call me at 2:30 in the morning just for fun now. But you know, everybody doesn't have that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing, man.
I wanted to see what's the youngest person that you've ever had the opportunity to help. I mean, because again, it used to be, I can remember what you're only this age. What do you have to be depressed about?
No.
When there's deep, you know, things that have happened that nobody knows about. But
yeah,
has it been, I don't know, like youth? Have you helped youth?
Yeah.
And what's the oldest?
There's different levels to it. I have the parents that stop me at events and say, "Will you talk to my son or daughter or whatnot?" But working in a recovery field, one of the most haunting things, we had an 18-year-old at our center who had already had her liver or part of her liver and gallbladder from just severe alcohol. She had already been stabbed. She had been trafficked.
Oh no.
She's probably been every and anything that shouldn't be done to her. She's probably already experienced. She's maybe she's 19 now. But that's one case. Typically, I'd say the worst cases I see on that note, because we're speaking about men's mental health through a portion, but a lot of young ladies, you know, victims of human trafficking, you know, just sex trafficking, manipulation, being moved to different states, you know, fed narcotics to form addictions, being dropped off, and in slavery, you know, all these things you wouldn't expect. I travel. I'm fortunate enough to go to places like Oklahoma and see how the natives are treated on the reservations, how the young kids are already have formed habits from crystal meth because the cartels are dumping the waste products in the rivers upstream. And I've been to Mass Ave. I've been on Skid Row. You know, it's real work, man.
Yeah,
and it's bad out there. I see kids out there. We were just out there feeding people here.
July 4th.
Yeah. And you know, my wife's pregnant. You know, despite what's going on, we're blessed. You know, we're good. And the first person I went to go you know, give a kit to, I'm walking, it's kind of like a hill and then a drop off. I can see her like here, and I get to her, it's about 100-some degrees outside, and she's got her baby in a grocery cart, and she's probably just as pregnant as my wife is, if not further along, no help in sight. So it's just, man, it's bad out here. You know, it's the youth, it's women. We're seeing more elderly, homeless, and without support. I see a lot of things that haunt people.
He gets videos. They call him. Chris gets waking up sometimes 2 in the morning. Just so happen to check his phone, and somebody might be about to end it.
Wow.
And he's walking people through. And then I'm wondering at 8:00 in the morning why is he up?
Yeah.
But the youth, they reach out. And a lot of times it's severe. They send them videos from inside the prison. Asking for help or just showing like what it really is like. And that's why it's so important to have that support system in place. As heavy as the workload may be, it's literally God's grace that's literally carrying this man to continue to do the work. But this is why we'll always continue to have mental health support in place.
Yeah,
to keep
definitely
doing the work. You have to have it.
Yeah, I've heard pastors talking about just preaching nonstop and then never really refilling the tank. And it's just like, how can you give when you don't have anything?
You gotta constantly get refueled, and have that system. He has somebody that he can call to, a personal friend that is a pastor. I have somebody I can go to. We have people that we can go to for support as well as therapists. So it's definitely a need. It's more of a need for the youth, especially. I remember I tried to overdose at 17. I don't talk about it often enough. I think I probably should more. But I remember going to one of my best friend's house after taking a bottle of Tylenol, just saying, "Hey, if I don't wake up, don't worry about it," or something. And going back, she was like, "What?" And kind of ignored me. And then I woke up finally with this pounding headache, and it still took me hours to get to the hospital. Hours before I told my mom anything. I was in the hospital with my mother after my godbrother had dropped me off, and I didn't want to say anything. I just wanted to die. So, yeah, it's real. And I know they need it more than ever. It's necessary. And I feel like we all need to probably do more, do our part to be more supportive of the young people because they're going through a lot.
It's not enough compassion.
Yeah.
Just labels and titles being thrown.
Or fake compassion. I don't think people really understand how important it is. I've seen some of your content and where you're on the phone with guys that are still locked up, and I know that means so much. This is, again, I try to just relate everything to what I can relate to, but getting mail when in boot camp, you remember mail call?
Most definitely.
Man, if someone took the time to write you a letter, I mean, it was just boot camp. It wasn't 17 years of prison. But it did something to you.
Connection.
Yeah.
Somebody's thinking about you. Effort. Yeah.
There's a lot of little things. Just a quick text messages.
Yeah.
Just I texted a lady that I worked with, and she gave me a card one time at Christmas, and I use it in my Bible. And so when I was reading, I'd see that card, and I always think about her. And so I was praying for her, and then I just reached out to her. I said, "Hey, I just wanted you to know that I been thinking about you, praying for you." And then she texted me back a couple of days later. She texted me back that day, but then she texted me back and she said, "I just wanted you to know that my mother had passed away, and her mother was living with her," and just really connected with these people. And it meant so much, just that little. And it's funny because there are times where I'll think about sending just a quick something out to someone.
Whenever somebody comes to mind, I always, if it's just a text, I always do a voice note, especially the older I get.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
God putting them on your heart. You
That's
never know
right.
what people
You
Yeah.
don't know if it's gonna be the last time.
Yeah, I'm just driving down the road, and then bro, hold on, let me just,
yeah,
and that's it.
yeah. And I try and call a friend, and if they don't answer, I'm like, "How dare you not pick up the
Right.
phone?"
Man, yeah,
I
sure.
played a terrible joke on my sister one time. She didn't pick up the phone, and I was very immature when I was immature. I was, but I told her that I was in a ditch, and I was calling her to say, and she got so
just
mad.
so she could,
Yeah, but that's not funny now that I say it. It's not, but I gave my siblings a hard time. Anything else, you guys? This is, I think, I don't want to say we've covered it all because I don't think you ever really can, but I think that this conversation has been really, really good to get a chance to hear.
What are some other early signs of somebody that's struggling with mental?
Well, I think like along the lines when early signs, I just want to make this statement. If you somebody that came up in an environment full of trauma, if you came up in a violent household or a household where there was neglect, especially like take the time to reflect on your childhood traumas because a lot of mental illness develops and starts. That's the origin. But also if you're somebody that's been incarcerated, if you've gone through a traumatic experience, if you're a veteran, or in the service, I would say get a mental health checkup. Anyways, before we even, get to what are the signs, like just know that if you take your car to get your oil change or you physically go to the doctor once a year for a physical, checkup, go get a mental health checkup too. But man, some indicators. It's because Elijah talked about young kids, and I would start with the youth. Whenever you see children lashing out
Yes.
on a consistent basis,
Yep.
start to look at the environment and ask yourself as the adult, what could be impacting them? If it's nothing in the household, then you need to start understanding what's going on when they leave your house on the way to school and etc. But it's behavior for me when I start to deal with younger people. That's the indicator. But it's not always in the form of negative behavior. It's isolation. You have children that isolate. Parents, if they're on a video game for 8 hours, that's not always because they just love video games. Sometimes they don't want to be a part of the world. Interact, ask questions. But these are just some simple things or that I mentioned to parents or adults when it comes to our youth. When it comes to young adults, same thing. I'd say certain behaviors. We see certain things like the use of substance use at a higher rate when individuals are battling mental illness because self-medication is very much a thing. We see, other, I would say risky behaviors. Individuals that typically are battling mental illness take more risks that don't make sense. I'm not talking about the entrepreneurial types. That's why it's important to understand when we label people YNs and all that. Yo, this is a whole generation of kids that have went through trauma unchecked, and now they're living in trauma, and nobody's helping them. So I just want to say that. And then adults, it's kind of the same thing. Substance use, isolation. If an individual, like Elijah said, behavior pattern shifts. If an individual's outgoing, and although that is not an indicator, because we look at people like Robin Williams and famous people, Anthony Bourdain, but these are some things you can visibly see. Some things you're not gonna, unfortunately. But all in all, take the time to understand this. If you are living in a place of anxiety, fear, depression, anger, grief, any of these things, that doesn't always have to be. Because if you're looking at me, you're looking at somebody that was in the midst of the darkness. I'm talking about I was all the way in there. And I was able to find a way out. Mine is faith-based. It's God first, and then it's mental health support. Your pathway may be different, may not, but there is a pathway out.
Yeah.
And I would say, when there's a loss in the family, sometimes people think that the kids don't understand or they're too young. but don't discredit their feelings for it too.
Right.
They need help. Grief is really, really hard, and it changes you. If you don't deal with it, it'll change you.
I lost my first friend in the first grade, Mario. We were playing street hockey, Glendale Heights, Illinois, crossing Fullerton Ave before the bowling alley. He dropped his goalie mask. I remember everything, and I'm 42 years old. And we all ran across the street, and when he dropped his mask in the street, he went back. And when he went back, the car hit him and he died. And we did what we could mentally think to do. And I was, I guess, always a leader. I ran to the road, my bike, got on it, rode to the bowling alley, got help. But I remember going to school, trauma. And all they did was they sat us on the carpet. The teacher spoke and said, hey, we got some, I think they said counselors or something, whatever the word is. If you want to talk to them, you can talk to them. That's what they said to first graders. We don't know to make the decision to go talk to somebody. And that was it. That was it. And that's what's going on in a lot of places when it comes to our younger people in grief. Yeah.
Man. Well, Chris, Miss April, thank you guys so much. Yes, thank you for being here. This is going to help a lot of people. I had a question for you. Sure. When is Baby Willers due?
December 11th.
December 11th. And what is Baby Willers going to be? Boy, girl?
We are not saying. We're going to do an online
gender reveal.
Yeah, online gender reveal.
Leave a comment down below.
Leave a comment.
Money.
Yeah. What do you think
it is?
Put your money on blue or pink. Oh, I just
right.
knew it.
Yep.
She's got both.
I love it. I love it. December 11th. That's awesome.
I'm happy. I'm gonna say that. I'm excited. I'm gonna be an old dad, but I'm a prepared dad.
Listen,
a young
mature
version of me as a father. Whew, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, one thing's for sure that baby's gonna have a great set of parents who's gonna know how to mold them to continue on the legacy of what you guys have started. And man, we can't wait to just continue to watch it grow. Thank you guys so much
Thank you
for being here.
Us.
Absolutely.
Always.
And thank you guys for joining us today. I hope that this has helped you. I hope that you utilize the phone number if you need it, that you take the advice that Chris has shared. He knows what he's talking about, and he wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. So you guys come back. If you hadn't already, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and set the notification bell, because we're bringing you the goods each and every Saturday. All right. Until next time, remember, perversion only confirms creation. So until next time, keep questioning the ordinary. We love you guys. Go forth and be blessed.
I'm having conversations. I'm having conversations of faith.